All right, so we're back again. We're back again talking about number 8, Kirk Cousins. As you guys see by the title, I have 5 potential teams that Kirk Cousins could possibly be traded to before the start of actually next season. There are a ton of teams, actually more than you would think, that need quarterbacks. And I think for Kirk Cousins to get traded to a team, he's not going to go to a rebuild. I just don't think that's I just don't think a team would bring in a guy who's making $44 million for a rebuild. If you're bringing in Kirk Cousins, you probably have a very solid roster, and you either just lost your quarterback or you want to upgrade at the quarterback position. And I think Kirk Cousins, he definitely has some value to him. I would stick it probably as right now as a second or a third round pick. So this is not, I'm saying we're not going to go get a first and a second for Kirk. This is probably something where we are getting a second and a third, same asking price for around Jimmy Garoppolo. Anyways, 2 things. Thank you guys so much for the support on the channel. It would really help me out a lot if you guys do hit the subscribe button. You guys will get notifications every single time I post daily videos. You guys know what everything this is about. But anyways, we got the 5 teams that I think Kirk Cousins could possibly be traded to right now. All right, so the first team on the list is I have the New Orleans Saints. And I know you guys might be thinking, like, there is no way the Saints could work this out with Kirk, especially since mainly just because the Saints are such a wreck in the cap and Cousins is making $44 million next year. If you look at it right now, I think it says the Saints are probably $35 million below the cap for next year. But due to some, though, they have some easy veteran cuts that they will make. They could free up a lot. And they could also trade us one of those players that have expensive cap hit or cut people. And the reason I think the Saints are an intriguing choice for them, they're interviewing Eric Bieniemy for the new head coaching job. And the Saints, if they would go get a offensive-minded head coach, I just don't believe they're going to sit around with Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas on offense, and roll out a rookie or a Trevor Siemian or a Taysom Hill. I feel like if they go get Eric Bieniemy, they're going to want to see what they have in Eric Bieniemy. They're going to want to see if he can really coach at a head coaching level and go get a guy like Kirk Cousins. So my first team automatically off the hunch. I know the cap space really makes this challenging for the Saints especially, but I think Kirk going to the Saints is a sort of, I would probably, if I'm percentage scale, if he were to be traded, I'll probably say about a 10% chance to the Saints. All right, my second team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Big Ben obviously retiring. They have a ton of weapons on offense, and they still have a very good defense. I think if this was the one team, I think this is probably the most likely destination for Kirk Cousins, mainly because I think both sides would want each other. You know, that's obviously a thing. Any relationship, anything in life, both sides are going to want each other. The Steelers, they would want Kirk Cousins because they're not going to roll out, the Mason Rudolphs, the Joshua Dobbs again and waste a year when you have Chase Claypool, when you have Deontay Johnson, when you have Najee Harris and that defense. You could go bring in a Kirk Cousins and they could win games. I really believe. I think Steelers, if they don't go get Jimmy Garoppolo, because that's where their name is being thrown around the most, keep your eyes out for Kirk Cousins heading to Pittsburgh. All right, another AFC team is the Denver Broncos. Now, I would absolutely love if Kirk went to the Denver Broncos just to see him go against Mahomes, Herbert, and Derek Carr, 3 quarterbacks who are, in my opinion, night and day better than him. I know people would probably debate Derek Carr. But anyways, the Denver Broncos. There's obviously been a ton of debate being thrown around with Aaron Rodgers. Could Rodgers go and get the head coaching, or not the head coaching, go and play quarterback for Denver since the head coach from the Denver Broncos was just Nathaniel Hackett. But same situation. They got Jerry Jeudy. They got Noah Fant. They have weapons. Javonte Williams. A fairly still solid defense with Kyle Fuller, Bradley Chubb, Justin Simmons. This is a talented roster. They just don't know who their quarterback is. So if you're bringing an offensive coordinator and you strike out on getting Aaron Rodgers and they still have a ton of cap space, why would they not at least consider Kirk? If they're looking at the Vikings thinking, they could be ready to move on from Kirk Cousins, it's a whole new regime in there, why don't we bring him in for at least a year or two, get some productivity, and maybe have a rookie quarterback sit behind him? I think Denver is another valuable option. I think it is definitely more likely than the Saints, not as likely as Pittsburgh, however. All right, my fourth team is actually kind of a shocker. I think the Miami Dolphins could be a very dark horse team for Kirk. There's a ton of BS going on in that organization right now. They're not a very well-run organization as of lately, with all the stuff going on with Brian Flores. But anyways, they just hired Mike McDaniel as their newest head coach, the 49ers offensive coordinator. And we know the connection that obviously Kyle Shanahan and Kirk Cousins have, Kyle Shanahan being the current 49ers head coach, his offensive coordinator going to Miami, and they have Tua Tagovailoa. And obviously the Dolphins reports within the organization is they're not sold on him. That's been the reports for the past year and a half. Another situation. They have weapons, talented defense. Kirk could go there and get them to the playoffs. All these teams that I listed, it's not like I'm saying Kirk's going to go there and he's just going to die away. These would be very good opportunities for Kirk. This would give him a new chance at new life somewhere else, and he would still have a very talented roster. I think the Dolphins are the biggest sleeper to go get Kirk Cousins. Or Dolphins, they're the biggest sleeper to go get a quarterback, I think, in this offseason. Go get a big name. Just keep your eyes out on Kirk going to Miami. My last one is Kirk to the Buccaneers. Again, another team that just lost their quarterback to retirement, very similar to the Steelers. But they're not going to sit around and just have Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette. I mean, they do have a lot of guys on one-year deal, so they could just go complete reboot. But if they do want to run it back, you bring in Kirk Cousins and go make the playoffs next year. You're looking at the NFC. And I can make the same argument for the Vikings. I could sit here and say, the Vikings have a good roster. They could go win games with Kirk. But I just think for us, it's more of a time to move on. But if you're looking at the Buccaneers, you're coming off a Super Bowl. You still have a very good roster. You look at that division, you add Kirk Cousins. You are the favorite to win that division, in my opinion. You're still the favorite to win that division if you bring in Kirk and still have majority of that roster. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I have no idea if Kirk will be traded, but there are many teams, if you start thinking about that, if you start thinking about this quarterback market, there are a lot of teams that could be interested in Kirk Cousins. And I know that's shocking, but we can move off his contract, rip that Band-Aid off. Let me know what you guys think down below. Skol Vikes.